your story is nothing less than an extraordinary miracle. Growing up in the caste system in India meant that you basically had to stop where you started.
Yes, the Indian caste system is evil, and this is a story about how God can redeem and save and do some incredible things and offer hope to people. We have a lot of 700 million people in this bondage in India.
700 million.
Yes.
Now,
They call the servant caste.
That's where you work.
Yes. And I'm in the Untouchables, which is even way below that. We are less than animals.
And what made you an untouchable? How do you fall into that particular caste? I never have understood that.
Yes, we, in the Hindu tradition, we believe in the reincarnation process. When you die, in the next life, you pay for the sins of your past. And there's no way you can redeem. Redemption is not a possibility, and there's no hope.
Solomon, how do you get from that particular position in life to being a professor at no less than University of California, Berkeley? I mean, that's a pretty big jump all the way to basically Silicon Valley.
Yes, I mean, that's why you need to read this book.
Well, you make me certainly, I think you make everybody want to read this book because it's a pretty remarkable story.
Yes, it's called Stories. It's 3 generations of triumph over torment. It's my grandmother who, as a child bride, at the age of 6, she was married off to a man who was 20 years older than her. She was basically a slave, a household slave, and she fought that, and her father didn't want her, so he gave her off as a child bride. So she went and jumped in a river close by because she said, I have no hope, and why should I live? And the picture has a hand coming down, and there's a hand of my grandmother here. That hand belonged to the hand of a missionary called Charles Percy Whitehouse. A young man going on the bicycle saw this beautiful lady jump into the river, committing suicide, and he lifted her up and said, I want to tell you about a God who can touch the untouchable, turn your curse into a blessing so you can bless many people. That was a beginning, and he taught her how to read, because untouchables were, in those days, were not allowed to read and write, and how to add and subtract. With that little knowledge, she started a global business. She exported lace to England, pickles to Burma. She employed all the people in the village, and she exported textiles and started banking. When there was no FedEx, when there was no email, when there was no cell phone, she started what we call a smart village. And that's what I do at UC Berkeley, teaching courses and building smart villages.
Smart village, let's talk about that, because this is transforming not just communities, but more importantly, it's transforming individual lives and taking people from hopelessness to hope.
Yes, smart village is not about building infrastructure and buildings and school buildings or tanks. It's about building people, empowering them with tools and resources. The human DNA does not require a PhD. It does not require a bachelor's degree, because God created us in His image, that we are empowered with incredible capabilities. And when God lifts you up, it unleashes and manifests itself. And that is the power of this story.
You know, it is a great story of God reaching down to an individual, saying you're not limited to whatever system you're in. You're not limited to the people around you or whatever traditions, because God has a personal plan for your life. But then it's all about also the breaking loose the entrepreneurial spirit in people.
God prepared me from the time. See, I went to a school in this little village, donated my grandmother, which was a little mud hut. We sat on the dirt floor. We learned the alphabets by writing on the sand. And I never once envisioned that one day God is going to lift me up above from this dirt place and take me to America so that I can be at UC Berkeley. And I never imagined that. But that's the story that I tell in this. And my father happens to be the first untouchable man to get a PhD from an Indian university.
Wow, what a great story. You know, the only thing that would make it better than the book is, and I think it's happening, a movie made of the life story, Solomon, of your family. But you know, the reason I'm so happy to have you here, you give us not just a sense of spiritual hope and direction, which you clearly do, but also a sense of hope for people who are impoverished across the world and being lifted out of the hopelessness of their own condition, but also lifted out of the hopelessness of a system that punishes them and pushes them back when God is wanting to lift them up. What a great story. What a great, great mission. Solomon, thank you, my friend. What an honor to have you here and a remarkable story. Solomon Doran's book called The Untouchables, 3 Generations of Triumph Over Torment. It's available now through Amazon. Now, if you'd like to learn more about his ministry to the people of India and support Untouchable, the feature film, please visit hopeforpeople.org. That's hopeforpeople.org.